You won't believe the heartwarming meaning behind Kobe Bryant's tattoos. Everybody has their own tattoos, and everybody has different reasons for getting them, whether it's a special date or person, or even if it's just a random character or role model that you look up to. We all have different reasons for getting them, and that's exactly the case with the legendary Los Angeles Lakers star Kobe Bryant. He wasn't a man who had his whole body inked up, but he made sure to dedicate his entire arm to one specific thing: family. Kobe Bryant had never gotten a tattoo before his outstanding playoff run during the early portion of his career that ended early after a bad knee injury. He had to fly out to Edwards, Colorado in order to meet up with a knee specialist, a place where he stayed for a while because they had a spa and lodge. However, not everything was good there. Bryant allegedly hooked up with a woman at the lodge. While it probably wouldn't have mattered very much if he was single, he was already married to Vanessa at that time, so when allegations came out, they weren't very bright for Kobe. After a few days of rumors swirling around, the woman took her allegation one step further and claimed that Kobe had raped her when she followed him to his hotel room. Because Bryant was such a big celebrity at the time, the media went crazy with the story and spread it everywhere. I mean, Kobe was just 24 at the time, he had money and fame and was an easy target for these types of allegations. But it will never be known what actually happened between the two because the criminal case only took about 14 months to be fully resolved. The woman who had accused Kobe made the decision that she would not testify, and the case was subsequently dropped. One would believe that it wasn't a big deal after all, though the accuser was heckled by members of the media quite a bit. But Kobe didn't go through all of that suspense and drama alone. Vanessa stayed with him during all of it. Think about that for a second. Had Vanessa just taken the kids and left right after the allegations first came to light, the Kobe that we had all grown accustomed to seeing may never have existed. This whole situation was at the prime of his career. If she had left, Bryant not only would have been heartbroken, but it would have also painted a terrible picture on his character image for other teams outside of the Los Angeles Lakers. Kobe knew that he had to pay an unreturnable amount of debt to Vanessa for sticking with him despite there even being evidence that he cheated, though no evidence of rape. Kobe did say that the two of them had consensual sex shortly after completely denying the question early on. He even apologized that she didn't feel the same way. Though it wasn't an admittance to the crime, he was just expressing the differences between their opinions during their encounter. But regardless, Vanessa stuck with him through it all without wavering. So he chose to get a beautiful tattoo of a crown right above the name Vanessa. Kobe took that time to apologize to Vanessa for everything that the family had gone through and was promising her that he would do everything in his power to make things right for them, starting with that tattoo. But he didn't just stop with Vanessa. Right under the crown and her name, he extended the tattoo further to have two angel wings. He was definitely committed to winning Vanessa over again and getting them through this. Kobe actually didn't even get another tattoo until over a decade later. In 2017, he chose to continue to build on that same arm that he got the tattoo for Vanessa. On his forearm, he inked all three of his daughters in a type of arm sleeve that looked incredible. This was to prove how important his family truly was to him and how he couldn't be happier with the people that he spends his daily life with. He was probably one of the biggest family men that you will ever meet. He constantly spent time with his people whenever he had the opportunity and didn't even care that he never had a son, claiming that he enjoyed having all daughters and saying that they were daddy's little princesses. Shaquille O'Neal backed up the family man sentiment by claiming that he was so much more than just a fantastic basketball player. He said that Kobe would hug his children as if they were his own and would embrace anything that his kids felt like doing. He was also an advocate for women's basketball, but mostly because his daughter Gigi was growing into quite the player in her league. So much so that she was surprisingly gaining national attention for her fadeaway shot because it was so similar to Kobe's when he was in the league. He coached her and a number of other girls to help expand their sports further and get them the respect that they deserve. To provide another example of Kobe being a family man, he opted to sit courtside at a ton of different Lakers games throughout his retirement. While you may be thinking, that doesn't prove he's a family man, he always took his daughter Gigi with him, literally to every single game. They would always be seen talking through the little details about the game or hugging and smiling with one another. The two of them absolutely loved spending time together, and it seemed like Gigi loved to learn about every aspect of the game of basketball with her father. Kobe was more than willing to teach her everything that he knew as well, making them such a wonderful combination. Bryant even said in an interview that he hopes Gigi could one day make it into the highest level of professional basketball. And while sadly we will never get to see how far she could have gone, you can definitely bet that Kobe would have continued to teach her and she would have improved even more than we could have imagined. But Shaq wasn't the only friend and celebrity that expressed how big of a family man that Kobe was. Derek Jeter wrote a large response after getting word of Kobe's passing and mentioned a ton of things about Kobe and his time with him. He said that the most meaningful conversations he had with him were always about family, no matter the topic. Jeter even said that Kobe didn't really talk about his career or his basketball accomplishments off the court, but rather his family and the time off the court that he got to spend with them. You could easily see that he loved his family, and it's probably the most important thing to remember about the great Kobe Bryant. Jeter also mentioned that Kobe loved being a father and took it incredibly seriously, saying that everybody who remembers Kobe should also remember his loving and family side as well. That personality didn't stop outside of his family either though. He was always trying to make the world a better place off the court when he wasn't with his family. He had a big heart and he just wanted everybody to be happy while making a change for people. That's one of the biggest reasons that he chose to coach his daughter's basketball team and even partner with the Sports Academy back in 2018. A move that eventually led to the company changing their name entirely to honor Bryant and his contributions to the group, renaming it the Mamba Sports Academy. But that wasn't all that he accomplished off the court. He was able to win an Oscar for the Best Animated Short in 2018, a small movie that covered a few topics from his life, mostly the end of his basketball career when he chose to retire but dropped 60 points in his very last game. That is always a great day to remember and immortalize, so I understand why he chose to animate it. Not to mention the fact that he had either donated or pushed for support for multiple charities and schools. He donated books to LeBron James' I Promise School. He donated $5,000 to further support a high school basketball team in order to allow their young students to grow and develop more. Kobe acted as a beacon of hope for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and finally, he was able to raise money for cancer research as well as medical expenses. Just looking back on all of this truly makes you realize how fantastic of a person Kobe was after everything that he went through early on in his life. His turnaround is truly inspiring and proves that you are able to overcome just about anything that flies your way and that you should never give up. It's incredibly hard to imagine that one of the best basketball players of all time, who played 20 seasons, won the NBA MVP award a record-breaking 4 times, was the NBA scoring champion twice, was named to the All-Star team a whopping 18 times, and was an All-Defensive Player 12 seasons, was able to have this much of an impact on the world outside of the sport. He was able to use his platform for good and do everything that he could to enact change for the people who needed it. Kobe Bryant should always be remembered for his outstanding play on the court, his kindness to the people that needed it off the court, and his love and admiration that he had for his family. It's heartbreaking that we will never be able to see Kobe finish his tattoo sleeve of all of his daughter's names. He was supposed to get his final daughter's name tattooed onto the same arm, but passed away just 2 weeks before the appointment. But we all know that he would have gotten that tattoo. His entire arm would have been dedicated to the people who helped him turn his life around and become the amazing person that we all remember him as. It was truly a privilege to watch him play basketball at such a high level, and I hope that his family is aware of how much he loved them. Thank you all so much for watching, and be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out the next video that appears on your screen.